We're here with Allie Ewing at the Pelican Women's Championship presented by Konica Minolta and Raymond James. Allie, you finished runner-up here last year, so what's it like being back at Pelican Golf Club?
Yeah, it's really nice to kind of relive some of the shots that I hit, and a really good week following my first win on the LPGA. I haven't felt like I've been playing great golf, but a month at home I think was much needed to kind of just regroup mentally, physically, all the things that you just kind of miss home. So it was nice to have a month at home and then be back to a site where I've got really good memories from last year.
How different is this course playing this week? We spoke to some people earlier in the week, and they said the greens are a little bit softer than they were last year. It seems like it's a little more friendly now that it's had another year of time to kind of cook after the renovation. But how have you found the golf course and the differences between last year and this year?
Yeah, I think overall we see the green complexes were kind of new, I think, in their renovation. From what I recall last year, this year you certainly see some of the greens with a lot more grass on them, a little bit softer, still firm, but a little bit softer. But overall, I mean, the golf course is in great shape, and you can see why the members love it around here.
A year and 2 weeks removed from your maiden win last year. I mean, that was obviously life-changing for a bunch of different reasons, but how did that change your mindset as a player and not only help you in the end of the last season, but like kind of propel you into the year that you've had so far this year?
Yeah, I think it's just the overall confidence. I think we as players do so much. We put in so much work to accomplish the goal of a win, and sometimes we get to a week and we play our best, but the best is not good enough that week. And just to actually feel yourself in a winner's circle and to see all the hard work pay off and see a win happen, I think it just kind of instills a little bit more confidence. And in the moment, if you're back in contention, it kind of calms your nerves. I've been here before, and can kind of, build off of a past win or a past experience, so to speak, to try to kind of calm yourself and realize that you've been in this situation before and try to rise to that occasion again.
Awesome. Steve?
Yeah, we're just talking about it. It's been 54 weeks since you broke through onto it. It feels like 10 years. I mean, when you look at everything that has transpired over that period of time. How are you different now than you were as the person who hadn't won out here?
Yeah, I think just kind of being more confident in who I am, and I think until you win, you kind of trust what you're doing, but you're still kind of searching. Like, is there something that I'm missing? Is there something that I'm not doing on a weekly basis that's not getting me to that point? And just kind of me now versus 54 weeks ago, it's just kind of settling into who I am as a golfer and who I am as a person, just trusting that everything that I do is good enough to win out here. And, just going back and relying on all the things that I've done in years past with my coaches and just people who have poured in a lot of support, knowing that all of that has led me to where I am today, and there's nothing that I have to change. It's just kind of continuing to build and to trust in my process, and hopefully get in the winner's circle again if I'm lucky enough to.
And did you carry all of those thoughts and feelings into Vegas when you won?
Yeah, and I think Vegas was just so much different too. Even though it's an LPGA win, it's a match play tournament, so you don't have to have your best for 72 holes. You just have to have your better than the other player for 18 holes. And I just love that competitive asset, or the aspect of the Bank of Hope match play tournament, just being able to go head to head with the best players in the world, and just trying to find that mental frame of competing at the highest level against an opponent for 18 holes or however many holes you play. So, but the level of confidence that I had in already getting a win back at the drive-on in Georgia certainly helped me, even though it was a different format. It helped me to kind of calm my nerves and realize I've been in this moment before. It's just a little bit different, and just try to rise to that level again.
Was this week a year ago one of those weeks where you did have your best stuff and it just wasn't quite good enough?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy because I felt like, I can't remember exactly, but I know there was a little bit of time that was between Georgia and here. So maybe a couple of weeks, I can't recall exactly, but just kind of hoping that the form and everything stayed intact to come and finish or to play here in Florida. And I played really good golf. Young played excellent golf that week and pulled off some incredible shots, especially on the back nine. I can't remember what we turned at, kind of the stroke differential, but it was a great week for me, especially following my first win, just kind of being secure and seeing myself play good golf back to back. And yes, it wasn't good enough for a win, but it was good enough for a really good week.
And we talked before you won in Georgia about how much you loved Bermuda. You got it at Old Waverly, and that's what you're on out here. So, what is the difference, and what's your comfort level on a golf course like this?
Yeah, I think a lot of it. Some players aren't familiar with grain and the Bermuda and just how it might affect a putt, how it might, change how you hit a chip, different things like that. And you just kind of have to be able to read lies around the greens. Even in the fairways, it might change your approach shots in some ways. And then especially in green reading, just kind of being able to recognize the grain and what it might produce, whether it's a speed differential or if it's more or less break, whether it's into the grain or down grain or cross grain. It's a familiar grass, like you're saying, but I mean, these are the best players in the world, so I don't think it necessarily gives me a leg up for any reason.
Zach?
Allie, you mentioned the rest over the last month or so, and kind of after this, what seems like a sprint of a season, what has this year meant to you? And to get that rest for the final 2 weeks, biggest 2 weeks of the year, what did that do to help prepare you?
Yeah, I think I can, for me personally, with the length, even though our year was shortened last year, the rollover for me has kind of dug a little bit harder into me at the end of the year, just physically feeling a little bit more tired than I have at the end of a year. The mental exhaustion, just kind of trying to be in a peak form week in and week out. So for me, that month at home, I put the clubs away for a couple of weeks and just said, I need a mental recharge. I need to physically let my body kind of rest and just try to be in the best form mentally and physically. Probably for me, a little bit more on the mental aspect. I found myself very frustrated the last few weeks that we had Arkansas and the 2 in Jersey. I think my body was completely tired, and mentally I wasn't able to kind of jump over hurdles of the physical exhaustion. So that month at home was huge and instrumental. Hopefully we see good results from that these last 2 weeks.
Speaking to that, I mean, you think about like what transpired at the Solheim Cup for you as well. I mean, you kind of came out and made your name known, if it wasn't already known. I mean, to have that much of a build-up to that big of an event, how has the energy level been after that, just these past, couple of months?
Yeah, Solheim definitely takes a lot out of you because you're putting your best out there more than for just yourself. I mean, you're trying to represent your country the best that you can. So, a week like that, that's just it's full of a lot of different things, which are great. But it's something that now that I've been a part of a couple, I want to be a part of a winning one. So it still is kind of a drive for me to play on more teams. And even though it is, one of the most exhausting weeks of the year, it's unlike anything that you play on the LPGA Tour. So it's worth it, but it is a tiring week. And the month at home probably, it still has carried over. I think the long week in Vegas, even though that was, months ago, it's just kind of like you just kind of try to keep rolling. And I'm looking forward to these 2 weeks, but I'm also looking forward to off season.
And I've just got one question going to the KPMG stats that we keep. We've always thought you were one of the best ball strikers. Is having that data something that you look at regularly, and does it confirm where you thought you were in your game?
I wouldn't say that I address it constantly, but it is something where I look and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm telling myself that I'm not gaining enough strokes here or there, but it actually says that I am, and maybe give myself a little bit more slack. I've always been the type of player that's really hard on themselves. My coaches were laughing at me a couple weeks ago working with them. They were like, this putt around 60 feet. I think I was like, it's just over. And he paced it off, and it was like 60 feet, 5 inches. And then we were just kind of doing things. And I have such this perfectionist type of wanting to make sure I'm doing everything correct. And sometimes I kind of gauge things in a perfectionist type of mindset that I don't give myself slack, and I don't give myself credit when I'm doing something really well. So the insights and stuff, I think, can more than it can help me build confidence, it can help me look at something and say, hey, you're not giving yourself enough credit for what you're doing there. And I think the insights and what KPMG is doing for us is great. And moving forward, it's going to be big for me to be able to just take a peek and see where I can get better, but also give myself a little bit more credit where credit's due.
How do you curb that perfectionism? I mean, you're playing a sport that nobody ever masters. How do you kind of keep that in check for yourself?
Yeah, it's just the managing the expectation. I think we all strive to be the best, and you kind of feel like there's not a lot of room for error playing on this tour and playing against the best. And I mean, a round of golf is. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we certainly strive for that perfection. And yeah, it's a game unlike any other. And I think once you kind of realize your best, I mean, you could go out and shoot 67 and it not be anything close to your best. But then you can also go out there and shoot 72 and you've hit 18 greens and you've two-putted everything and you're walking off the course just completely frustrated and want to pull your hair out. So it's just kind of realizing it's both worlds that you could live in. And it doesn't necessarily take your best to shoot a really good score, even though we want to strive to have our best every single day.
Just last question on the golf course. Coming here again, having such good kind of mental imagery from last year, playing so well here. These greens are tough. I mean, this is about the only defense mechanism I feel like this golf course really has. What's the strategy going to be for you on approaches and around the green this week?
Yeah, there are a few greens that have, a lot of movement to them, maybe some mounds and stuff that you don't want to find yourself on the opposite side of them. But in terms of how I play a golf course strategically, I look at the green surface as just what it is. And it doesn't really change how I play an approach shot, even though there might be, necessarily a place that on the green where you'd not want to have a putt. But I wouldn't necessarily say I change my strategy if there's a pin that is off the water, but there's a mound to the left. I'm gonna play for strategically the higher probability type shot and where I would want to be on the green, regardless of what is on the green itself.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. All right. Thanks, Allie.
Thank you.